There are a handful of day games with the Marlins at the Pirates, Guardians at the White Sox, Mets at the Blue Jays, and Rangers at the Diamondbacks. And then some of the notable games that are going to be taking place tonight. The Braves and Nationals play in Washington. The Braves and Mets are tied for the final wildcard spot in the National League. Rays are going to match up against the Phillies on the road. Padres and Mariners play tonight in Seattle. Brewers at the Giants and the Cubs. They match up against the Dodgers. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver indicating that at some point this season, team owners will discuss the idea of possible league expansion. With Progressive, you can bundle auto and home insurance, renter's insurance, or condo insurance, and you're going to save with Progressive. I'm Matt Pauley with the SportsGrid Sports Flash powered by The Score.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
If SportsGrid was a burrito, we'd be the one with steak and carnitas packed so full every bite made your cheeks poof out like Dizzy Gillespie, so the name's stuck and now even your mother calls you Dizzy. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
The only place in football where the offense is always on the field is on Moneyline. With the two best hosts in radio, Donnie Rightside.
If anybody wasn't watching, listen, I don't know what you were doing.
And Kevin Walsh.
Forget act like you've been there before.
On the SportsGrid Radio Network, SiriusXM Channel 159.
Oh, the best hour of your day is officially underway. It is Moneyline, SiriusXM Channel 159, right here on the SportsGrid Network. Solo mission, Donnie Rightside. Yesterday had the day off. Oh, did you miss me so much out there, people? Maybe you did. Maybe you didn't, but we're back, and we're back live, the YouTube chat, looking at it right now. Now, here's what we're going to do. I have a couple different computers set up on my table. We're always an interactive show. I always have Twitter open, no doubt about it. A million other boxes. I actually have a separate computer that's just set up for the chat box alone. Now, here's the difference. Sometimes when I'm just by myself, it's hard for me to type in the chat box and respond back there. But I do know you're here. And I am watching that chat box with a specific computer just for that chat box. So any questions come up, any shout outs out there, I see exactly. I might not be able to type and get back to you there, but I will answer those questions and recognize you being there, because the one thing I do want to see happen here is the phone lines, hopefully they get situated here. But until they do, this is probably the best way to reach out to the show. And it is an interactive show. And part of the show is the people listening being able to comment and also maybe getting some comments back by the show host, which is me directly here. So I will acknowledge you. I see Mammoth out there in the chat box shouting it up here. We want to grow this. We want to have a ton of fun. We want this to be the place to be during football season, baseball season. You know it. And I know it's important to the people out there that you want to reach out and you want to have fun with us. And this is the absolute best way to do it. So I think here, let me see if we have a live link that's coming through right now here on Twitter, because I would like to retweet it if you're not watching it live. It's not out yet, but it should be up shortly and momentarily. But you guys know the place to be, SportsGrid on demand for YouTube. Obviously, if you're listening on the app here, fantastic. SportsGrid app, one of the best in the business, where you can listen live, you can watch live, you can get all the instant updates. That's the way to do it. Or if you're just watching some of the live shows here, right through Twitter with us as well. But certainly, we want this chat box to grow. We want this chat box to have some fun. Chris Warren's in there, certainly a loyal listener to the show as well. So the boys are in charge. If you want to come into that chat box and say hello, more than likely, you could do that. But I know a lot of you people watch the show without commenting. That's just fine as well. But I'm refreshed. It's ready, and it's almost turning the page here over to week number 2. Now, there also, guys, is a Major League Baseball schedule that is today in the afternoon. And there we go. Pops up here on Twitter. Let's type in there, join us in the chat. Fantastic. So look at that, right out in the way. And again, if your people are watching and you're on YouTube and you want to shout out the show, hit the retweet button on that, on our SportsGrid radio account. Let's grow this. Let's get the people in the chat box. Let's have some fun. Let's make it worth everybody's while out here. So the people popping off in the chat box having fun, the people listening on the radio, let's get after it. The questions that I want to bring up here is, yesterday, typically last year in football season, I didn't really have any days off. It was basically Saturday and a day off, and that meant being at the soccer field, getting ready, and getting prepared for the next week's games, which start on Sunday morning, and away you go. Understand this. This year, my schedule does change a little bit. So K-Dub had the solo show yesterday, held down the fort. Fantastic. He'll be back tomorrow. We'll be back in charge. And then on Friday, I'll be on a solo mission again. But Tuesdays now come at the perfect time for me. Something I wasn't able to do last year. I am a big proponent of watching football games back just to put eyeballs on exactly what those statistics are. Now, understand my workday, guys, and the way it goes. You know me. I'm on the air a lot, which when you're on the air means you can't be handicapping and catching up on things. More reactionary, right? Love my job. I love coming on the air in the morning. The early line is a lot of fun to do, me and Ben Stevens. Today, obviously on Wednesdays, it's Stubbs Anderson. Joe Lisi came in. We have a lot of great guests during that program. Then I come live on the air for Moneyline for even more action and more fun here. But also, while you're on the air, I can't just handicap my way through things. Now, granted, during baseball season, we can get away with a lot of that. But I don't need to visualize baseball games that I missed last night. I just go back in the box score, check the last 60 days. I understand what I'm looking at. And we will talk Major League Baseball today. There are games on the docket. We'll see if we can make some money. But as I said, Tuesdays now are spent catching up on what happened on Sunday. And again, just getting back to my quick schedule here. I wake up early Sunday mornings, 5:15, 5:30, get some information down, drive a couple hours into the studio, do a 3-hour studio show, and a couple hours on the way home. And you're saying like, wow, how's that work? Well, we end our show at 1 o'clock. I get home typically midway through the third quarter of the 1 o'clock games, grabbing something to eat, trying to catch up. I miss a lot of football. So what I need to do is say, okay, we had a fantastic betting weekend, by the way, in week number 1. So heading into week number 2, I need to see those games. And Tuesday, since I have the day off, is the perfect time for that. Shout out Jordan P. Shout out Akbar in the chat box. Obviously Mammoth, Chris Warren. It's fired up. People are watching. People are commenting. Exactly what we want. But in the past, like if you're on your couch at home, right, and you have the Dish Network, which used to be the ticket, now it's YouTube, you can get a look at a lot of those games at once and get a feel for it. I miss everything at 1 o'clock here, right? And also at the end of the night, I'm so exhausted, it's rare for me to make it past halftime of the Sunday night game. Why? Because I got to be up early on Monday morning for an extremely long day as well. So yesterday, I was able to catch up on just about every single game to put eyeballs on exactly what happened. So if we do a quick review of what I thought happened this weekend on Sunday and how we can pertain it to the future. Steelers-Falcons game. Key ingredient in this one, the Steelers got the victory, yes, 18-10. They did nothing on offense. Justin Fields had 156-yard passing. 90% of that offense was dink and dunking out of the backfield, rolling him out left and right. Can you win football games in the NFL with a stellar defense that way? Yes, you can, which is what Mike Tomlin does. 9 wins, pencil it in. You know they'll be 500 or better. Are they going to win anything with this offense? Absolutely not. And also this week starting with the Pittsburgh Steelers, it is the right move to keep Justin Fields out there because you can beat the Denver Broncos with the exact same game plan you had against the Atlanta Falcons. The exact same one. Don't turn the football over, run him out of the pocket left and right, dink and dunk it down the field, and force a rookie quarterback to make a ton of mistakes. They should be able to handle the Denver Broncos on the road. But also the Falcons. Kirk, what are we doing out here? Honestly. Watching that game back, you played too much football. You are paid too much money to make those boneheaded decisions that I saw left and right. However, a quick takeaway out of that game here. Bijan Robinson looks good. Looks like we're not battling for total carries with other running backs. So if you are looking to bet Bijan Robinson, he plays against the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night who got gashed on the ground. That's one of those guys here. But I said I like the Steelers' victory. But you're not going to be a contender with that offense. It's just plain and simple. And I don't think Russell Wilson's going to start this week, it looks like, from Mike Tomlin said, or the following week after that. Chat box here. AOD's out here. The boys are popping. We're going to build this. I want that chat box. That thousands of people every single day floating around in there. We'll see if we can get to that point. I built up some of these chat boxes before in the past, but certainly bringing the information to the people and have them being able to get back to us, that is what it's about. And we'll have fun with that. And as I told you, separate computers set up for you people just to get in that chat box. Have fun. Reach out to me. Questions, comments, hot plays, hot picks, arguments. That's what we're about here. But also, back to the football field. Cardinals and the Bills. What did you like about that game? I told you the Cardinals are going to have the worst defense in the NFL. I still think that's going to happen. Now, question. Carolina Panthers, we'll get to that in just a little bit. But for me, 34-28 final. The Bills won that game. And quite frankly, they were a kickoff return away from covering that because they did have that touchdown plus lead. They almost got beat at the end. The defense had to come up with a couple plays. So be it. Very happy with the Bills offense. Not so happy with that Bills defense. But also, if you are looking at the quarterback position, Josh Allen can't have that usage rate, guys. I'm sorry. He won't make it through the end of the season. He ran for 2 touchdowns because sometimes necessity beats what actually mentally makes sense. He needed to run those in because they needed to win that game. But if you're going to be doing that on a week-to-week basis, he's not going to last. Hand the football off to James Cook, 19 carries, 71 yards. Give him that red zone action. And by the way, James Cook tomorrow night, people, he's going to score a touchdown. He better be on your anytime touchdown market. Let's continue to go over what happened in the NFL last week from what I saw and how we can turn it over to this week's action. We'll be right back.
You may or may not be a good SportsGrid listener. If you've ever used the term toxic masculinity, you're probably not. It's just a hunch. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Deshaun Watson is again under a spotlight away from the field. The NFL said Tuesday it is investigating the latest civil lawsuit filed against the Cleveland Browns quarterback for an alleged sexual assault that took place in 2020 while he played for Houston. On Monday, a woman in Texas accused Watson of sexually assaulting her during an incident at her apartment 4 years ago. She claims Watson sexually forced himself on her for several minutes. At this point, he is expected to play Sunday when the Browns visit the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Supreme Court of Maryland heard arguments Tuesday about the constitutionality of a 2023 law that ended the state statute of limitations for child sexual abuse lawsuits following a report that exposed widespread wrongdoing within the Archdiocese of Baltimore. The arguments, which lasted several hours, largely focused on the intent of the Maryland legislature when it passed a preceding law in 2017 that said people in Maryland who were sexually abused as children could bring lawsuits up until they turned 38. I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
If I was to describe this sandwich in one word, I would say magical. Hi, this is Jamor, and the little thing that I love about the Chick-fil-A honey pepper pimento chicken sandwich is that extra oomph. I go back and forth from the spicy filet to the original filet. I get into the sweetness of the honey, then you have the extra kick from the spicy filet. The combination alone takes it over the top. It's award-winning.
The Chick-fil-A Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich is back with a bite. Try it with the original or spicy filet, now for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonial.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you're always looking for ways to position your operation to create opportunities and move on them faster. With Bank of America, you get access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2024 Bank of America N.A.
It's stark but true. You can either listen to SportsGrid for strategies, odds,
and more,
or you can pay your bills by selling plasma.
You can always tell the second kind as they look kind of pale.
Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
NFL doing big things here in the ratings, guys. NFL media says week 1 NFL games averaged 21 million viewers across TV and digital platforms, up 12% from last season. I just wish we had 12% more scoring because the touchdown passes weren't flying the way we loved it. But also, as I bring that up, getting the ratings increased here, shout out, chat box, we're rolling in there. And if you haven't done this yet, and I don't ask all that much, but I do think the medium is fun for both myself and also the great people out here that are watching the show and also listening live. Direct feedback is fantastic. You want to feel like you're interactive and part of the show, it's up to us to try to build the YouTube channel up here because that chat box is great. You're you're always going to listen in your car. We get that. You're always going to watch on TV. But now, at least on the radio shows, you have the chance to see us live, which, again, let me just click over to make sure my face is still appearing on here. There we go. And you love to see it and be interactive with it. And know you can reach out to a host or two here at the SportsGrid Network. Now, for the radio, you say, well, I don't understand, Donnie. I can't find it here. Where is it out on YouTube? SportsGrid On Demand on YouTube. Right now, looks like we have about 6,360 subscribers. Like, if we just keep growing that all the way up, and I've done that before in the past with different networks here, it just makes it more fun and more accessible for everybody, and we can all get involved in it. And for me, as a host, specifically on solo shows, I love getting the feedback from the people, which is why we're probably going to be working left and right to try to get those phone lines up. Phone calls and direct access makes you feel a part of the show, and that's what we're trying to grow. So even if you always listen to Moneyline, say, hey, boy, Donnie's really harping on this, YouTube chat box here. I do that for a reason, because it just makes everything better. Like, if you could sit back at home and reach out to Chris Collinsworth, like live doing a broadcast. Hey, Chris, you missed a block over there, and you want him to see it. Or stop saying that this guy keeps on rolling out right in the pot. You see what I mean? It's fun to be interactive and fun. I'll keep the chat box open. Everybody popping in there, having some fun. Love to see it. Fantastic stuff as we move forward. Now, I was talking about that Bills-Cardinals game. They play the Miami Dolphins tomorrow night, the Buffalo Bills. And we'll get to that Dolphins game in a second. But for me, the Bills, I thought, would walk up and down that field. I said the Bills would be at least in the high 20s. They got to 34 points. My best bet on the weekend was what? Josh Allen over 1.5 touchdown passes. He got that and then ran 2 in himself just for the goodness of his heart. I don't think that Bills defense is great, and they're going to get a good look from the Miami Dolphins. But just the synopsis from that game, too, make sure you guys are looking at the Cardinals all season long. Every time they line up against an opponent, you want to be targeting the quarterbacks and the running backs, because they're going to, quite frankly, average, high 20s every game on their defense, if not more than that. That's a bad defense with an offense that can score points. That's a fun team to try to take a look at this point. So just keep that in mind. I said it before the season, and it held up in week number 1. Let's get to that Bears-Titans game. And reviewing some tape from yesterday, sometimes it's tough because I thought the Titans would have a legitimate chance to win that game and cover 3.5, 4.5 on game day where you were getting that. The Titans were up 17-0 in that game and ended up losing 24-7. If they took a knee the rest of the way after getting up 17 points, they would have won. I do give credit for the Chicago Bears for being opportunistic. A ridiculous flip-out interception, which, again, that was a 1 o'clock game. I didn't get to see that. So, Will Levis just probably threw a random interception over the middle. One of the stupidest decisions you can make, which directly led to your team losing that game. And I saw Will Levis's comment saying, they didn't win the game, we lost it. You're not supposed to say that from a perspective of you played in the game, but we're allowed to say that as the public. Yeah, the Titans lost that game. The Bears didn't win it. Because Caleb Williams, electric, Heisman Trophy winner, the offense stunk out loud. And I thought the Titans in the offseason, and you guys know me, spent some decent money to improve their team offensively and defensively. Tony Pollard looked fantastic in that game, scored the touchdown early. Tajay Spears out of the backfield, electric young kid. Wide receiving core looks good. Offensive line is fine. And I said, you just couldn't get crap quarterback play out of Will Levis. And that is exactly what you got, and that's why they lost that ball game. So, yes, the Bears won. I'll give them credit for that. Quarterback did nothing. Offense looked bad. We'll see if they can improve, but that's a rookie quarterback on a week-to-week basis. M. Bean pops up in the chat box. What's up, guys? Love to see it. Love to see it. Now, we'll see what the Bears do. We'll see what the Titans do. Extremely disappointing on the Titans. They should have won it, didn't, because Will Levis is horrible. That's what you want to get at. Patriots and the Bengals, from my viewpoint watching that game, it's pretty simple to me. The Patriots essentially are going to run a high school offense as their best chance to win football games. And understand it. That's just Gerard Mayo playing with his talent. You got an offensive line that was pushing the Bengals around on Sunday and a running back that was absolutely frightening, and Ramondre Stevenson. 25 carries, 120 yards, and a touchdown scored. I thought he was phenomenal. And I thought the way the Patriots played was exactly the way they're going to have to play the entire season. Do I think the Patriots are talented? Absolutely not. They do have some playmakers on defense. But I don't even want to talk about the Patriots. The Patriots are not going to the playoffs. The Patriots aren't winning anything. Who knows what the Patriots will finally wind up here with a win-loss record. I didn't think they would actually win on Sunday, despite all of the nonsense that was taking place overall with the Bengals. Is Jamar Chase going to play? Is he not going to play? Is he going to get paid? Is he not going to get paid? T. Higgins wasn't going to be there. The Bengals were an abomination on offense. because the Patriots played this as a perfect zero-sum game on how they had to win. Control the football, force turnovers, and don't let anything up deep. The Bengals, to me, outside of the Carolina Panthers, which, again, that's going to be a drop, we'll continuously say at this point, they did nothing explosive. Jamar Chase had a couple catches in that game. I get it. Is he going to get paid or not? He went for 6 for 62 over the weekend. But that offense, you lost Mixon. And did you see Mixon with the Texans out here running wild as if he was a rookie with those fresh legs out here, as impressive as that was? They don't have that anymore. It's Zach Moss. Congratulations. Yoshivas? What's the Wyatt's name? Yoshivas? Something crazy like that. Looks like Iasovis, or however you pronounce his name. Yoshivas, I believe it is. Like, that's your playmaker now? And Mike Brown, you did it to yourself at this point. Those fans should be revolting. But the Bengals, I wasn't high on them coming into the season. You guys know this. But watching that game, I don't know what's going to change. Like, obviously, if Jamar Chase is going to be sitting out half the practices and not being invested, you get what you get. You didn't pay him. That's what you're going to get out of him. But T. Higgins now with a hamstring injury for a wide receiver. Who knows if that's even going to be re-injured or if he can even play this weekend. The Bengals were disgraceful. The Bengals were undisciplined, and the Bengals were not explosive. And that's a recipe for absolute disaster out here. It really is. So we'll keep moving along and get some updates because there's one game I really want to talk about, which leads into tomorrow. That's the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins game. That Dolphins game, I got a lot of topics to go over there. Let's talk about that and more. We'll save some a little bit later for Major League Baseball. Who's not having fun, baby? We'll be right back.
You can listen to SportsGrid on the radio, TV, our mobile app, or the internet.
And you don't need a nerd to hook you up.
Keep it here on the SportsGrid Radio Network. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
1960, future Hall of Famer Jerry Lucas scores 23 points as the U.S. wins its 5th straight men's basketball Olympic gold medal. Lucas was a winner wherever he went. He led the Ohio State Buckeyes to 3 straight NCAA finals, winning the national championship in 1960. Lucas won an NBA championship in 1973, the New York Knicks. For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
New research reveals you can learn overnight by smelling strong odors combined with spoken instructions while you're asleep.
E=mc².
Neurons associated with smell are hardwired to the brain centers of learning, memory, and emotion. While you're asleep, sniffing cigarette odor mixed with the smell of decomposing fish and rotten eggs makes you want to quit smoking. Stimulating the olfactory system, your sensory environment, smelling while sleeping may supercharge learning anything. Follow me at G Capalbo on X and stay tuned to The Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast.
Who are you going to take in an AFC title game, Mahomes or Lamar Jackson? You're going to take Mahomes, and you're going to bet on Kansas City. And I did bet on Kansas City, and I'm sick of them going to Super Bowls, too. I've already said this a million times. I'm had enough of it. Honestly, I'm going to start watching cricket if they go again. I'm done with it. I will. Honestly, I'll start playing bocce ball.
It's Pharrell Coast to Coast with Scott Farrell. Weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. On the home of the winning edge, the SportsGrid Radio Network.
There, Sporto.
We know you've been hurt in the past. Big stations with big promises lied to you, suckered you in.
We don't do that.
We're the real deal.
You can take our information to the bank. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
You guys know we always have that energy on this show. It's Moneyline in the morning, the best hour of your day. Of course, it's underway. Sometimes some big topics do come into the conversation. We're going to get right back to football here in just a matter of moments. But I know a lot of you guys enjoy that I share my life with you guys. A lot of joking around, a lot of fun. Of course, I like to call myself out, like to reveal things that I might have missed on the air. And you generally see the programming here at the SportsGrid Network. We enjoy doing what we do, and I think that really shows up here. So shout out to the chat box again, participating out here. Love to see it. SportsGrid On Demand is the best place to rewatch the shows and also watch the shows live on YouTube and reach out in the chat box here. But today is September 11th. 23 years ago, an unspeakable tragedy happened on our home soil in New York City, in Shanksville, PA, and also in Washington, D.C. Opened up the morning show on the early line because, again, we come on here with big smiles on our faces, and I know a lot of people were affected on this day. And anytime now, because it's not like, hey, March 5th, May 9th, September 26th, they're just dates in time. But when anybody just brings up, hey, what's today's date? It's 9/11 or September 11th. That instantly rattles us to the core, and understandably. And I'm an East Coast guy. Right now, I'll pay hour and a half, hour 40 outside of New York City. But I went to school in North Jersey, which, in the mid-1990s, graduating in the late 90s. When I would walk out of my dorm at William Patterson University, on the skyline was New York City. And the Twin Towers were always there. One of the two most maybe iconic buildings in the history of the world, to be honest. They just stood so bright, so tall, and so strong for so many years. And leaving the university in the late 1990s, it was there. I haven't been back to walk around on campus, but it would be interesting to take a look at those same walking points and not seeing those two Twin Towers there off in the distance. And granted, our country changed and the world changed a lot in 2001. So all those first responders, just so unbelievably brave. And I know a lot of you guys out there just do it like me as well. Like tonight, sometimes when you just watch TV, there's always a lot of programming from 9/11 with the tapes. And it's still unbelievable to see how and watch it played out. But also the true heroes, as I said, those first responders. Can you imagine your job is to run into the mayhem as opposed to run away, to helping all those thousands of people? Because the tragedy of it all, right? Thousands of people lost their lives. But if there is a guiding light coming out of that, were the thousands of people that were saved by those first responders in those moments. And I remember, much like you guys, exactly where we were at that time. And you see in the chat box, Mammoth, BC with their red bandana game, just human decency on display, helping another fellow human being was tremendous. Because I remember I worked a late night shift at a mortgage company. And I can remember watching the Monday Night Football game in the gym at like 12 or 1 o'clock that night. And I would go to sleep, and I didn't have to be back in the office till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I worked technically West Coast hours, being on the East Coast with mortgages. And I remember waking up and like going onto the computer, which, high-speed internet wasn't really a thing back then, and just seeing like, AOL or America Online. And it's like, is this real? Like I have to turn, because again, nobody was calling me on my cell phone at that point. It was basically, 9:30 or 10 o'clock in the morning. Had no idea what took place. I remember turning on that TV and just being astonished at that point. And then driving up later where even all the sports stations had flipped over to like ABC, NBC, or like CBS as their news counterparts. And the minute I got to work, they just sent me home as the rest of the company saying, you know what? No time for that. Go home. We'll see if we're going to be open tomorrow. And how many lives change in the fraction of seconds that took place here. But I do want to shout out, because there are like bad things you can focus on. But we're always positive as a society, and that's the way you should be. There were a lot of heroic events that happened on that day and certainly need to be recognized even 23 years later. Once again, it's almost like it happened yesterday at that point in my life. I was a kid in my young 20s just trying to find my way in the world post-college, and that was certainly one of those profounding, impacting days. So just wanted to shout out the people that were all involved in 9/11, those heroes, and also the heroes that didn't pass away that day, but years later, due to all the medical complications that came from breathing in all of that nonsense out here. I thought it was appropriate to give those guys a shout out. And we will always remember 9/11. There was a lot of good people there that helped a lot of people out in those days, whether it was New York City, Washington, or again, the whole famous Let's Roll, where people on a plane took down the terrorists just to make sure that plane didn't crash into more people. Unbelievable heroics at that point here. So just wanted to get that out. But next segment, we'll continue talking some NFL action, how it pertains to tomorrow night, and some thought processes on a couple key games, which include the Texans and the Colts, the Jaguars and the Dolphins, and what the heck is going on with the Panthers at this time, boy? Oh, my goodness. A lot of people in the chat box sharing their thoughts on 9/11 and the history of that as well. Love it. It's an interactive show. It's Moneyline. It's Donnie Rightside. It's the SportsGrid Network. It is the place to be. We'll continue this. More hot topics next. Keep the dial right here. SiriusXM Channel 159.
Sports happens every day, and we give you expert insights and information on gaming, odds, and more.
Every day.
You see a trend?
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash powered by The Score. Interesting comments being made by NBA Commissioner Adam Silver saying at some point this year, team owners will discuss possible expansion. It was not something that was spoken about during the league's Board of Governors meetings, but it is something that is being looked at. There are multiple cities in the United States that could be future NBA cities, including cities like Las Vegas and Seattle. Of course, for Seattle, it would be a return to the NBA there. The Pittsburgh Steelers are starting the week with Justin Fields taking the top quarterback reps as Russell Wilson continues to be banged up. Right now, it seems likely Fields will start against the Broncos. With Progressive, you can bundle auto and home insurance, renter's insurance, or condo insurance, and you're going to save with Progressive. I'm Matt Pauley with the Sports Grid Sports Flash powered by The Score.
Welcome to Staples.
Hi, I need a printer for the office.
Staples has the best brands, like HP.
Well, I have some demands.
Oh.
Burton Sales demands it be fast.
HP's Office Jet Pro is super fast.
Megan Marketing demands color prints.
Check.
And Kurt the Controller demands I don't overpay.
With Staples Hot Deals, you get up to 40% off select HP printers.
Oh, great. My job can be...
demanding?
I was going to say a lot of fun.
Right now at Staples, save up to 40% on select HP printers, America's most trusted printer brand. Ends 9/28.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds, which could be life-changing. I mean, you could put that money towards concert tickets for your daughter to see that singer who sings about painful breakups. And one song will inspire your little beauty to break up with that beast she's dating, Brian. Instead, she'll date someone who's nice and worthy of her love, not someone who addresses you and your spouse as bro. And it's all because you could save money switching at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states.
You're listening to sports gaming strategies and information you can trust. But we know what you really want.
I mean, who's kidding who here? Am I right?
Well, guess what, Sporto?
That's part of the winning edge, too.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Shout out to the people hitting the retweet button out there. Our guy Jordan Pencil and also Chris Warren, loving life, talking some sports, bringing some humanality into the things with 9/11. It's what we do here. We got to keep in mind, there's a lot of people out there listening that need to be entertained on a day like this, and this is what we try to do. Crack a little smile on your face, take your mind off of some of the day's events. That's what Moneyline is designed to do, and hopefully means putting more money in your pocket. I think we could do that. I think we could do it today in baseball. We'll get to that in just a little bit, but some quick topics again throughout the National Football League. Texas and the Colts. I'm high on C.J. Stroud, man. I really is. I think the sky is the limit for that offense. You're telling me right now, guys, that Mixon comes over and carries the ball 30 times for $160 and one touchdown that game. Oh my God. Like, that's the last thing the NFL needed. Like the Philadelphia Eagles getting, a high-powered Saquon Barkley in the backfield. Other teams don't need to see that. We knew the Texans were good. Even Singletary was a decent running back. But now you flip it over, and you're going to get that type of performance out of Joe Mixon. Now, granted, we know he can't carry the ball 30 times every game. You eventually wear down. But didn't he look good? Didn't Nixon look good for the Texans? Now, let's flip it over to the Colts. It's a shame that we didn't get a full season of Anthony Richardson. But if you're ready to get on that roller coaster, go ahead and join it. Because the Colts are going to be fun. Shane Steichen, one of my favorite coaches in the NFL, by the way. Innovator on offense, tremendous, was great with the Eagles. He's been wonderful for the Colts. It wasn't their fault that the offense gave up the 29 points, right? Because that's a good offense coming in. But Anthony Richardson, if you want to draw a prototype quarterback in a lab, it's going to be him. His arm is electric. He's a linebacker playing quarterback with the agility of Lamar Jackson. He is fast. Hopefully he can be more durable. But he needs to be more accurate. You can't win football games completing 9 passes as a quarterback. And also, some of the stuff that you are seeing out there, that 60-yard touchdown pass, I'm telling you right now, I don't think another quarterback in the NFL could have made that play. The fact that he was rolling out and threw a laser beam on the money, 60 yards plus downfield, ridiculous. I played wide receiver in my life. There are times where you're running routes and saying to yourself, I'm open, but no way, shape, or form can my quarterback get me the football. Is there a spot on the field that Anthony Richardson cannot get a wide receiver the football? I don't think so. So I hope the maturation process continues. He's such an elite athlete with such a great coach. If they can hone those skills and say, throw the football 25 plus times per game. Let's just say he doesn't throw it more than 30 times. We'll go like 28. He can go 20 of 28 in a football game. That's when you know the Colts are at their peak. They got the wide receivers, they got the running back, they got the offensive line. They just need the quarterback to be just a little bit more reliable in the short routes. Because you guys know, it's not really about the 60-yard target pass down the field that he can hit. It's 3rd and 7 with a wide open wide receiver running an out route that he can't airmail. He's got to complete that pass. So that's something is. But if you haven't seen it yet, the 60-yard, it doesn't even make sense because it looks like it was like an AI, conversion at that point. It's like, well, if you took something off of TV and said you can throw this, it was an absolute flat out bomb that was on the money. You couldn't have walked it out and handed it to the wide receiver any better. Dolphins-Jaguars game. If you look at that final score, congratulations, Dolphins, they won. I don't know how the Jacksonville Jaguars lost that game. Matter of fact, I do know how they lost that game. 17-7, late third quarter, Travis Etienne with a great run. Looks like he's going to walk into the end zone. He's stripped at the goal line. Miami recovers. Next play, he had a deep ball to Tyreek Hill for 80 yards to make it 17-14. That game was 24-7, what should have been late in the third quarter with the Jaguars' victory. They let that slip away. So I don't want to downgrade the Jacksonville Jaguars all that much because I do think things certainly can be looking up in their favor over the next couple weeks. That's a tough loss, and congratulate the Dolphins who are coming back. That's what you're supposed to do. Devon Achane in the passing game, tremendous. Jalen Waddle in the passing game, tremendous. Tyreek Hill after a tumultuous morning, tremendous. Tua Tagovailoa made the plays when he needed, throws for 338. That's going to be a great game to watch tomorrow night. I think we do get points. It was around 49.5, now dropping to 48.5, and understandably, right? Understandably on that. Yeah. We'll see what happens. But I do think we get points, and I do think we'll have some fun tomorrow night. And certainly the Miami Dolphins, I think, are going to put up points tomorrow night. Hint, hint. We're looking at Tua Tagovailoa's touchdown props. Yes, we are. We're looking also at James Cook rushing props for the Bills. Yes, we are. Let's get to the Saints and the Panthers. Is there anything more to say that the Panthers are just a horrendous franchise from start to finish? Really, let's be honest with ourselves. Bryce Young was the number 1 overall pick with the Chicago Bears, got away with murder by getting all those draft picks players, finding their quarterback of their dreams this year, and having Bryce Young look bad, knowing C.J. Stroud went behind him, and he looks absolutely like an MVP candidate, and maybe the Houston Texans can win the Super Bowl. But that's still no excuse for going to be 47-10. I don't care how bad your quarterback is. You didn't even show up in that football game. They didn't show up. They got people at 37 points on the road for a Saints team that you're like, ooh, I wonder how the Saints offense is going to look. 47 points later. 17 in the first quarter, 13 in the second quarter, 7 in the third, 10 in the fourth. Let me just go to the box score quickly on this game, too. 13 of 30 for Bryce Young. Unacceptable. 5.4 yards per attempt. Unacceptable. Took 4 sacks in that game. Do you know his QBR, which is based on 100, which, again, nobody really gets to 100 in that. But you understand the point. 10.5. 10.5. You know what Derek Carr had in that game as his QBR? 84.9. That's not even passer rating. Passer rating for QBR basically takes into effect, like, how are you playing each play? Did you make the right play, the right read? Did you run? Did you turn the play into a plus play, that should have been a minus? 10.5 is ridiculous. Derek Carr is 85, essentially. Passer rating, 32.8, which means he couldn't throw the football either. No touchdown passes, 2 interceptions. Ridiculously embarrassing. But he did run one in. Congratulations. Derek Carr, on the other hand, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, a passer rating of 142.5. Is this the Saints team that I thought I was getting last year that I didn't get? Or is this just the Carolina Panthers guys are that bad? That absolute bad. Akbar's out there sending me DMs here. See the best version of pass. I think I know. Like, I can't click on it now because I'm doing a live radio show. But is it the one where they actually like show it from above the stadium? Because I did see that. It looks like a video game, and again, in AI, of how perfect that play was. And shout out to technology these days, man. Gotta love it at this point. But even from let's get back to Carolina here. Running game, 20 carries, 58 yards. You got to be kidding me. 2.9 yards per carry. Thielen, 3 for 49. Mingo, 2 for 40. Xavier Legette, 4 for 35. Not good enough. Those numbers should be so much higher because you got blown away. You should have the whole second half just to go dink and dunk down the field. Bryce Young should completed 25 passes out of 50 and threw for 300-plus yards, even if he did throw a couple interceptions. I don't know what to think of the Saints because I don't know what to think of the Panthers. And if they're that absolutely trash bad, that's ridiculous. Vikings and the Giants, that game ended up 28-6. Watching that back, Daniel Jones, you don't even have to watch it. You can watch like one quarter of that game. Like, yeah, this guy stinks at quarterback. I thought Sam Darnold would have a very good day. You saw me on the Sunday morning crunch. One of my favorite plays was what? An anytime touchdown scoring market here for Justin Jefferson. He got in. They looked pretty good. But again, I don't know how much I can grade the Vikings being a quality football team because of how bad the New York Giants actually are. Chargers, Raiders didn't take much out of that game. Gardner Minshew is going to do what he does. The Raiders aren't all that effective. The Chargers, you know this is the way they're going to win games. Ground and pound. And by the way, J.K. Dobbins, 10 for 135? Back in the fold? By the way, do you remember when J.K. Dobbins came back first from his knee injury? How he's basically carrying his leg down the field? Doesn't look like that anymore. Kid looks like he's back in ball and ready to go. And if you're going to get explosive running plays like that out of a Jim Harbaugh team, yeah, that's how they're going to win games, 22-10 every single week. Seattle and the Broncos. I mean, let me just go over the stat line for you kids, right? We just talked about Bryce Young and how bad he was. Like, you might say, hey, Bo Nix, look at that, man. 26 of 42. That's 1/3. How do you have 26 completions in the NFL for 138 yards? That's a 3.3 yard per average. That's peewee football. Back when I had, like, what is it, the K2 football, I think it was? The tiny one that, like, fit in the palm of your hand when I was 55 pounds playing at, like, 6, 7 years old. I could do better than that back then. 42 passing attempts for 138? Stop it. Got to be better than that. By the way, Broncos, we're going to lose to the Steelers this weekend. They will be 0-2. Who wants to talk baseball next? I do. Let's do it right here on Moneyline.
The only sure thing in this world is the fact that there are no sure things. That's why you get expert perspective, strategy, and info. Here. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash powered by The Score. Auburn senior quarterback Peyton Thorne saying yesterday that after losses, he will get money requests from bettors who lost money on Auburn, saying that he gets Venmo requests. He kind of made a joke about it. However, the NCAA is monitoring this right now, and they're trying to find a way to combat it, but they're having a hard time doing it. As the San Francisco 49ers get ready for a matchup against the Vikings this weekend, it is up in the air as to whether or not running back Christian McCaffrey is going to be able to play. He continues to deal with injuries to his calf and Achilles. With Progressive, you can bundle auto and home insurance, renter's insurance, or condo insurance, and you're going to save with Progressive. I'm Matt Pauley with the SportsGrid Sports Flash powered by The Score.
At Lowe's, save big every day when you buy in bulk. Save 10% when you buy a pallet or more of select concrete mix. And there's more. Save up to 25% when you buy a pallet or more of select drywall panels. Plus, get free same-day delivery to the job site when you order by 2 p.m. Because Lowe's knows pros. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See sales associate for details. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for details.
What's better than one win? 3 wins. With Straight Savings, you keep your own phone, get one line for only $25 a month with real unlimited data, and get rewarded with a $200 phone credit after 12 months. It's a win-win-win. Head to Walmart or visit straighttalk.com today. Switch to Straight Talk. Less dollars, more sense. Straight Savings Plan enrollment requires compatible unlocked device and new line of service. Bonus device credit requires 12 months of active service. Offer ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. Taxes and fees apply. For network management practices, see Straight Talk's terms and conditions.
If you don't know where to start in sports gaming,
here's some good news. You already have.
You're listening to us. We're your source for gaming odds and more. This is where you'll find it.
This is the way.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Oh, yeah, Usher. Oh, yeah, man. By the way, we grab a little lunch after the show today. Got to get a haircut. It's got to look firm. You got to look good there when you enter into the studio. Thursday night, Pro Football Today, boys. Live tomorrow night, 8:15. We're going to get after it. Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins. Love a lot of prop bets there. Lost, by the way. I don't say like the parlay for the people, but I can't believe that I couldn't get one touchdown pass out of the San Francisco 49ers on Monday night. Brendan and I dropped that pass, would have converted, gave me my 50% boost winner. It didn't happen. We're going to be back on the men tomorrow. A lot more options, as I told you. Already looking at Tua Tagovailoa's touchdown passes. I think he can go over 1.5. Already looking at James Cook on the ground. I just don't think that they're going to run Josh Allen repeatedly on the goal line when you have a capable running back. I think that makes sense because I do think we'll get points tomorrow night. So we'll be back in the fold. But let's talk Major League Baseball. And you guys know what I like to do. Last 60 days, let's take a look at some of these fadeable pitchers. Top 5 pitchers on the card today that you don't want to fade. Blake Snell, Michael King, Zach Wheeler, Hunter Brown, and Max Fried. If we take a look at those xFIP numbers on those, Snell, 2.69, elite. Michael King, 3.07. Zach Wheeler, 3.21. Hunter Brown, 3.23. And Max Fried, 3.39. When you hear those xFIP numbers, it's expected fielder independent pitching, where home runs are calculated as 10.5% of fly balls induced. That's the exact terminology. But basically, the xFIP means, how's that pitcher actually doing up here? And how many fly balls is that pitcher giving up? How many strikeouts is he doing? How many times is he going to walk guys, hit by bats, fly balls? All that goes into it, everything. The underlying value of a pitcher. Now, Blake Snell, if you want to use ERA terms, 1.54 in the last 60 days through 58 in the third innings pitched. That's incredible. But how about the fadeable pitchers on the mound tonight? Let's look at the bottom 5 here. And these are guys that are in that high 4 range, low 5 range. Usually for me, the fadeable numbers, 4.5 or higher, but you technically like that about 4.75 or higher to really get after some bad guys. Merrill Kelly, 28 and third innings pitched here over the past 60 days, a 5.72 ERA and an xFIP of 4.59. Certainly fadeable. Dean Kramer of the Baltimore Orioles, 52 and 2/3 innings pitched, an ERA of 4.10, but an xFIP number, 4.78. Now we're getting into that target strike zone here. Shane Baz of the Tampa Bay Rays, 49 innings pitched over the past 60 days, a 3.12 ERA, which isn't bad, but an xFIP number of 4.81. Bottom 2 pitchers, Jack Kachanowicz, I guess. I've never heard this guy's name live here. Los Angeles Angels, 38 and 2/3 innings pitched, an ERA of close to 5, and an xFIP number of 4.86. The worst pitcher on the card today analytically, which is always kind of funny to me. 54 innings pitched for Joey Estes of the Oakland Athletics. He's got a 3.33 ERA over the past 60 days, which is quite good. But his xFIP number is 5.20. What's that mean? You're dancing through the raindrops out there. Eventually, you are going to get bit. So let's just focus on some of those bottom-feeding pitchers. Houston is going to take on tonight the Oakland Athletics in Houston. Joey Estes, if we look at his last 30 days of Major League Baseball, ISO power number 225 against. He does have a pretty good weighted on-base percentage, though. But that's because he's dominant against left-handed batters. Right-handed batters, absolutely torching Joey Estes. So if we're looking in the lineup tonight, he said, Donnie, give me 2 batters from Houston that probably would be on your card, or have to be on your card if they start. Alex Bregman, last 58 at-bats against right-handed pitching, a 316 ISO and a 382 weighted on-base percentage. Fits the mold perfectly, guys. Right behind him, Yainer Diaz, 192 ISO and a weighted on-base percentage of 373. Now, granted, you do have other batters in that lineup. Yordan Alvarez, he's been tremendous, but he's a lefty. I sort of want to stay away from lefties just a little bit tonight. John Singleton, I bet him, and he has very good RBI prices in the past, but the focus for me is going to be on right-handed batters. And that is going to be Bregman, and it's going to be Diaz in the middle of that lineup, I think make the most sense. So when you're angling for pitchers that you want to go up against, certainly it's going to be Joey Estes. And also keep in mind, like Joey Estes starts his home games in Oakland in the Coliseum, one of the better pitchers' ballparks out there. But as Matt is pointing out, his bad road splits. That's the whole point there, right, guys? You want to take a look at those. How does he do outside of a perfect situation? He should get beat around tonight. So team totals probably live, certainly for the Houston Astros. But I like to focus in on RBI props and really from right-handed batters tonight, going up against them, Bregman and Diaz do make some sense here. Let me move over to this Angels game. The Angels are on the road to take on the Minnesota Twins. Temperatures of this game, nice too in the Midwest. 80 degrees at first pitch. That certainly should help out. So Jack Kochanowicz, I want to say again, using this guy's name. He actually has decent splits non-analytically with ISO power numbers. He actually has some decent ones here. 121 and 098 if we break it down between lefty and righties here. But here's the question. That weighted on base percentage has been high for most of the season, particularly to right-handed batters. The question's going to be here, though. He's got a high ERA and a high xFIP number. Who is going to be able to cash in that Minnesota lineup? Top 4 in there look okay, weighted on base percentage-wise. Edouard Julien, Matt Wallner, Jose Miranda, and Trevor Larnach. 384, 351, 374, and 342, respectively here. ISO power numbers high on Wallner and Larnach. But it looks like right-handed batters get the best of Mr. Jack Kochanowicz. That one's going to be tough. I didn't have to see that starting lineup, but certainly a fadeable pitcher nonetheless. Now, the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Philadelphia Phillies today. Here's another interesting one. Shane Baz, 49 innings pitched over the past 60 days. His ERA is a 3.12, but that xFIP, really dangerous at close to 5 at 4.81. If we look at his other numbers, the ISO and weighted on base percentages against, look at his last 30 days. 98 batters faced, a 151 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 258 against, which is very good. And by the way, lefties a 150 ISO, righties a 152 ISO. Both of those below average and also weighted on base percentages, 226 and 291, both in that ballpark. The Phillies, however, have done very well against right-handed pitching over the past month. Guys that probably should be on your card, Kyle Schwarber as usual. Now, he left the game yesterday. To be honest, I wasn't watching the Phillies game until the Nick Castellanos, I'm going to get hit with a pitch. Bullpens are going to empty. Bryce Harper is going to come in. So that made it fun. The Phillies really tacked on in the 8th inning. But I don't know if that was an injury, but he is listed in the anticipated starting lineup today. Bryson Stott's got good numbers against right-handed pitching over the past month. Brandon Marsh does as well. Even Cody Clemens has a 250 ISO power number. This will be a little bit tougher one to take a look at because I do want to see if Kyle Schwarber is in that lineup, and if he's not, what type of changes are made to that order. But the two guys I probably won't be on tonight, Trey Turner and Nick Castellanos, really struggling with right-handed pitching over the past 30 days. Major League Baseball, we'll keep it here and jump right back in with it next as we close the showdown on a Wednesday right here on the Sports Grid Network. It's Donnie Rightside on a solo mission, and this is Moneyline.
You can hear Sports Grid on the radio, internet, TV, satellite, and our mobile app.
And we're working on airport and grocery store PA systems.
This is the Sports Grid Radio Network.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Grady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Sports Grid TV and radio networks are the premier streaming video and audio channels dedicated to serving the sports wagering audience. Found on major smart TV platforms and streaming on Sports Grid Radio and Sirius XM Channel 159. Sports Grid's real-time data, expert commentary, and entertaining analysis transform viewers into informed sports enthusiasts. Our weekday radio lineup begins with the early line at 8 a.m. Eastern with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Donnie joins Kevin Walsh on Moneyline at 11 a.m. Eastern, followed by Football Full Circle at noon Eastern. Kaplan and crew join the party at 1 p.m. Eastern. And Pharrell Coast to Coast keeps things rolling from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Get in the mix with Kevin Walsh and Game Time Decisions at 6 p.m. Eastern. Evenings simmer with Carver and Lisi. Then boils over with Gabe Moritzi on Sports Rage Late Night at 10 p.m. Eastern. To find out where to find Sports Grid that's best for you, go to sportsgrid.com. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid. Football Full Circle.
I'm buying in. I was very impressed in the second half. This rushing attack of Sweet Baby Ray Davis and James Cook, baby, they're humming. And that's where I think Josh Allen later in the year lead this team to an AFC championship. I like Buffalo, plus 950. That performance, even though it was sloppy, still has me buying in Buffalo, big picture.
It's Football Full Circle with Ben Stevens and Joe Lisi. Weekdays noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on the Sports Grid Radio Network. Ask any player and they'll tell you any advantage is important.
That's where we come in.
Sports Grid delivers gaming strategies and analysis 7 days a week.
The winning edge.
It's your advantage to more winning
more often.
This is the Sports Grid Radio Network.
Shout out to people in the chat box keeping it real all show long. Love to see it. Love to see people giving us feedback here. Awesome stuff. We'll build this channel. Sports Grid on demand. If you want to watch live our radio broadcasting here, it's the place to be. Let's build it up. Let's get 40, 50, 60,000, 70, 80, 90,000 subscribers on here to have some fun. making sure that people know they can reach out to us, and everybody in that chat box has been absolutely fantastic today. Let's complete some of these final looks here on the pitchers that are fadeable in the card. Dean Kramer, certainly one of those guys for Baltimore. Here's the problem tonight. Dean Kramer, last 60 days, guys, has a 4.10 ERA, which is a little bit high. He's got an xFIP of 4.78, which is really high. But you wouldn't know that by the actual statistics that have been coming back. 113 batters that he's faced over the past month, an 0.69 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 270. That's incredible. Lefties, an 0.44 ISO against. Incredible. Righties, 0.89. Incredible stuff. So it's one of those sometimes you have to take a leap of faith to trust in those numbers. Because if you are looking at Jaron Durant, Rafael Devers, Wilder Abreu, Connor Wong, they have extremely high ISO power numbers against right-handed pitching. That total in that game is listed around 9.5. So I tend to want to believe my analytics will overcome what my eyeballs are seeing with Dean Kramer with those crazy statistics on ISOs and weighted on base percentages here. That's what I want to know. So again, in the ballpark, Durant, Devers, Abreu, maybe even Yoshida has his decent numbers there, and Connor Wong, something to keep an eye on. Merrill Kelly of Arizona. Wait till you get a look at these numbers I'm going to go over in just a few moments here. Now, that game is played, I believe, in the afternoon from this morning. Yes, 3:40 p.m. this afternoon Eastern. Let's focus on Merrill Kelly. 28 innings pitched over the past 60 days, an ERA of close to 6. Brutal. xFIP of 4.59, not very good. But look at these numbers. 105 batters he's faced over the past 30 days. The ISO against is a 289. A weighted on base percentage is a 414. It's off the charts, guys. Left-handed batters, just to isolate those. 64 batters he's faced. An ISO power number against, 310. Off the charts bad. Weighted on base percentage, 417. Off the charts bad. An equal opportunity, which means what? Right-handed batters are cracking him as well to the tune of a 256 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 411 over the past 30 days and 41 batters. Here's the issue. We don't love this Texas lineup. Now, Zach Allen's a much better pitcher than Merrill Kelly, as we can agree. He shut them down yesterday. If there is, I guess, one batter that you can say to fade against with Merrill Kelly, who has a chance to do some damage, hopefully, it would be Adolis Garcia. 84 plate appearances against right-handed pitching over the past 30 days, a 228 ISO, and a weighted on-base percentage of 338. So once again, the bottom 5 pitchers on the card today for me, analytically, over the past 60 days, Merrill Kelly, Dean Kramer, Shane Baz, Jack Conchachowicz of the Angels, however you say his name, and Joey Estes of Oakland. So if you're saying if you had to just do one game tonight, wouldn't you just pick the most fadeable pitcher based on the xFIP? 5.20, Joey Estes over the past 60 days. Road splits are bad for him. Good, solid hitting lineup for Houston, who's still in a position to win that AL West and continue to add on to their lead and take over from the Seattle Mariners. That's probably the best one here. But some good baseball all the way through, rooting, as I said, on my Philadelphia Phillies. But I'm really excited about this week's NFL card. Again, starts tomorrow on Thursday Night Football. Great game between the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. We'll be live once again tomorrow on Moneyline. K-Dub will join me here. We'll have some fun talking about that game and breaking it down, giving some lead-ins to who we think we like from the props market and also the game and the total. But also keep in mind, make sure you're checking with the chat box here because the radio programming that we do, I think every single show is now live on the SportsGrid network, SportsGrid On Demand. So subscribe to it, follow along, get those notification bells. When the radio programs go live, you can come in and check in. It's not only just this show, as I'm saying. Like, hey, I'd like to catch Moneyline in the afternoon. You know, I'm pretty sure Carver and Lisi at night are going to be on the air. I'm pretty sure even the Pro Football Full Circle guys that come on just after us will be live here on YouTube. It's just a fun way to interact there. And I've always been a part of this, too, because I didn't just show up at the SportsGrid Network for my first day of work and say, I wonder how radio and TV works. Like, I've been doing it for a long time, and I made my bones in the YouTube market and trying to help build channels and being in that chat box and understand how well that chat box can work for me and also the public. It's fun to see it start to play out, and it's a big vision that we have here on the SportsGrid Network. So once again, thank you for joining that chat box. Thank you for tuning into the radio station, Sirius XM channel 159, all those loyal supporters out there. We do this because we love it, but also we do it because we love the feedback as well, and to be on the air for the great people like you out there listening and watching along. Tomorrow, the NFL is back, as I said, but for today, JP behind the wheels of steel, your boy down the right side on a solo mission. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll be back tomorrow.
Confused? Lost in an ocean of data?
Relax, dude.
We got you.
Seriously, the home of the